Hello and welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Teach, where we explore all things haunted dolls. Today we are getting into the story of one of the sweetest and most gentle haunted dolls in my collection, and that is Diego. And yes, there is a reason why he is in my liquor cabinet for his video. Diego was initially bought at an antique store, but the people who brought him home soon started having activity. The people that ended up with him said that there was so much paranormal activity with Diego that they felt like they had someone living in their home. He would often go through the newspapers and magazines, and a few times they even felt like he was getting into their liquor cabinet in their home. They would smell alcohol out of nowhere and immediately attributed this to Diego because it had never happened until he showed up. When we purchased him, we didn't have a ton on his story other than the fact that he was in his 30s and was a positive spirit, but we had absolutely no trouble investigating Diego further because he is so forthcoming about every piece of his story. He will answer any question you ask him, and he did all of this on day one with us. Diego is bilingual, so we do get a lot of Spanish on the spirit box, but he is also happy to translate anything that we don't understand into English right after we ask. Diego shared that at the time of his passing, he was homeless and he actually passed away relatively close to the antique store where he was found. He shared that he passed away pretty much on the street, and it was kind of like his body gave out because he was heavily addicted to both alcohol and other substances, and he kind of just didn't wake up one day when he was outside, and he says he remembers people looking, and he was really upset about that, but at the same time, he also has come to peace, and he recognizes that he wasn't a bad person. He just had a really hard life, and he really didn't have anyone to help him get off the streets. He shared that he had a lot of odd jobs. He worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts, he fixed cars, he worked at a cell phone store at one point. He was kind of all over the place in terms of his career, but he enjoyed everything he did, especially because he got to work with so many people, and he really likes to chat. Despite spending the end of his life on the street, he did have a family that he really loved and who loved him back, and he also had quite the social life. Diego talks about going out to restaurants on Tuesdays with friends, having a friend take him golfing on Thursday, and homeless or not, he was very proud of the fact that he still got invited to parties. Diego is one of our spirits who has given us some really cool details about his life that we were actually able to validate. He gave us the town that he lived in, the street that his family lived on, the name of all of the businesses he worked at, and that he lived by a river. After he told us this information, we were able to check all of it and compare it to a map, and everything that he said completely lined up. There was a street with that name in the town he lived in, and there were all of those businesses within a 10-minute radius of his house. Diego is a sneaky but an active spirit. I always say that Diego often gets overlooked for his activity because he is so gentle and quiet most of the time. So when he does stuff, sometimes his activity does get blamed on other spirits until we find out later that it was actually him. He makes a lot of noise throughout the house, and something that is very unique to Diego is that for whatever reason, he always seems to have piles of dirt showing up around him on his shelf. Basically, once a week, I have to clean up a small dirt pile that collects around him, and I have no idea where it is coming from or why it is happening. One time, Diego was so interested in using the spirit box, and we had missed a night because we usually do it on Saturday, and the spirit box headphones actually got thrown off of the headphone stand and across the room. I was quick to blame another spirit who loves to spirit box, but was told immediately that it was Diego, and I was so surprised I almost didn't even believe it until Diego confirmed it. Periodically, he will do silly stuff like fall down or move, but it's not very often, and when it does happen, it's always so cute. Thank you for taking the time to get to know Diego, and subscribe for more haunted doll stories.